Hi everyone, it's Olivia from Girlybunches. I've got a video here today to show you how to make this pot holder. It's been a request from someone, I think was on Facebook. I'm apologising because I can't remember. I'm very sorry, but yes, I think someone on Facebook has asked me how to make a pot holder, a round one. So here we are, and I've done my favourite granny square style stitch, and I've done it in a round. So I'm going to show you how to do not only the pot holder but how to do this granny stitch in a round. And as you can see, it's not too big, but it's got a nice round shape to it. And I've done the scallop edge around the on the edge, of course, the scalloped edge on the edge. Okay, so looking at the back, what I've done is I've done a more filled in stitch, because this is actually 2 layers. I can show you here. If I pull those two apart, it's 2 layers, and I would recommend that you do a pot holder or make a pot holder using 2 layers, because that offers more protection to your hand. I'm using acrylic here as normal because I find that cheap, but there's no reason why you couldn't use a cotton, and I think a cotton would probably be a better fabric to use, a yarn to use to make a pot holder, because some of these acrylics, well, they melt, don't they? So that is their nature, being acrylic after all. Right, so we're going to start with our magic loop, and we're going to do 3 chains to replace our first treble. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do 2 trebles, and I'm going to do 2 chains in between each of the sets of trebles together, not together, groups, you know what I mean, just like a normal granny square, but in this case we're going to do 6 groups instead of the 4. I've got a few videos on how to do a granny square, so I shall put a link down below to those videos to show you how to get started if you're unfamiliar. That's 1, 2, 3, 2 chains, and I need 3 more groups of 3 trebles. I'm getting there. 1, 2. Get some more yarn. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 more chains and 1 more group. Okay, so I'm going to finish off with 2 chains, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that 3rd chain that I did at the beginning, like that. Pull my yarn through. Just going to pull that tight down at the bottom, that tail end. We've got a bit of a winky wonky circle there, but never mind, that's fine, it will soon straighten out. Cut my yarn and pull that nice and tight. So it looks a bit of a mess to begin with, but don't worry, we're going to sort that out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So using my next colour yarn, I've already attached the yarn using the slip knot, and I'm going to put that hook down in between any of those 2 chain spaces. It doesn't matter, anywhere will do. And then I'm going to just do a slip stitch just to attach it, so I can now start doing my 3 chains to replace my first treble, and I shall do my next 2 trebles into that same space, and then I'm going to do 1 chain and then do another 3 trebles into that same 2 chain space. And I'm going to do 1 chain. I think that's what I said before. That's what I'm going to do now anyway. And I'm going to do 3 trebles into that next 2 chain space. I'm going to do 1 chain and do 3 more trebles into that same 2 chain space. So you can see there's a gap there, and a gap there. And I'm going to do 1 chain. I'm just going to repeat that till I get round to the beginning. Just doing the last chain there and then slip stitching into that first set of 3 chains we did at the beginning, and I can cut my yarn now and pull that loop through, that tail through that loop, sorry, make that knot, and there we go. Yep, it's looking winky wonky, that's fine. I'm just going to pull that tight at the that loop, that tail loop tight, and that's fine. If it looks wonky like that, please don't worry, because the next rounds are going to start pulling that out. Okay, because we're looking a little bit like a hexagon at the moment, but that will soon disappear as we go further out with our stitches, our next rounds. Right, so I've attached my next colour yarn to my hook as before. I'm just going to do a slip stitch in there like that, and I can carry on doing my groups of trebles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 chain, and then we're going to do 3 trebles into the next chain space. So on the previous round we did 2 into each one, but this time we're not going to do that. We're just going to do 3 trebles, a chain, and then carry on to that next chain space. I'm going to do that all the way around until I get to the beginning. So 1 chain, 3 trebles, and I'll come back when I've got to that beginning bit. So there's our last chain, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of that group, that 3rd chain there, and pull that through and cut my yarn. Starting to flatten out a little bit more, that's fine, that wobble's fine, because you'll see that when we do the next round that's really going to start to pull that shape flat. So I'm going to attach my yarn for my next colour. I'm going into any of these chain spaces here. I'm just going to start doing what I've been doing on the previous rounds, but this time I'm going to do 2 chains between each of the groups. So there's my first group, 2 chains, and my next group into that next chain space. There you go, there's another one with the 2 chains in between each, and I'm going to do that and come back, do that all the way around and come back to here. So there we go, I've slip stitched into the top of that 3 chains there to finish off that round, and as you can see that shape is taking on a much nicer round shape. So the next round we would do would be a repeat of this round here, having 2 groups in each one with a chain in between, and then you would do the next round, which was the same as this round. So you've got 1 into the top of each, like we've got here, 1 into the top, in each chain space, sorry, with 1 chain between, and then the next round would be 1 into each space with 2 chains around, which then gives you enough room to fit in the 2 groups. And that's literally how you would just keep going like that. You just keep going and going and going until it's as big as you want it. I'm not going to do another round because it's not going to fit in my tiny little screen. So onto the back piece, we're going to start with the magic loop, and I'm going to do 3 chains, and I'm going to do 11 trebles into that loop to give me 12 trebles altogether, and then I'll show you how to make each round bigger. there's my 12, and I'll just pull that loop tight, as you can see, and then slip stitch into the top of that third chain. Is that the top? Yeah, third chain we did at the beginning. And I'll just cut that yarn and fasten that off. Okay, so with my other colour yarn, and then what we're going to do now is into the top of each of these trebles we're going to do 2 trebles. So I'll end up with 24 because I've done 12, but I'm going to do 2 in each one. So what I always do is I always start off with that knotted bit there, because that's always a bit of a difficult bit to get going. So I just slip stitch in, and I'll do 3 chains, and I'm going to do a treble into that same place like that, and then into my next stitch I'm going to do 2. Is that the next one? Yeah, I'm going to do 2 trebles like that. Pull that knot tighter and that middle bit tighter, there we go, and then I will just keep doing 2 into the top of each of those trebles from that previous round until I get round to the beginning bit again. So I've gone all the way round, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of that third chain there, like so, cut my yarn and fasten that off. Now you see that bit there, that always bugs me, but when you sew your ends in, you can use your yarn to just fill that gap up. If I do that, you'll see that you can sew that bit together and you won't notice. That's what I do anyway. Okay, so I'm going to take our next colour of yarn, and I'm just doing this so it's easier for you to see. Obviously if you could just do it in one colour if you wanted to, but I'm just doing it so you can see. And into the top of that bit I'm going to do 2 trebles, so I'll start off with my chain of 3, and I shall do another one in the same place. Now I'm going to do 1 into the next treble like that, and then I'm going to do 2 into the next one, and then 1 into the next one, and you just keep doing that, so it'll be 2 into the next one, and 1 into the next one. You do that all the way round. So when you count up this first row, you've got 12. When you count up this round, you've got 24, and in this row you'll have 36. So I'm going to keep going until I get all the way round, and I'll slip stitch into this one and show you how to do the 4th round. So that's my last stitch there. So just to remind you that I did 2 and then 1. So the last stitch you should work will be just 1 on its own, and then you just slip stitch into the top of that third chain, fasten your yarn off, and start on the next round. So again, when you've got these gaps here, when you sew it all together, you sew in the ends, you won't see them. If I just show you on this one, you can see that those gaps aren't obvious anymore because I sewed them up. There we go, attach that on, and I'm going to just start again into that same gnarly bit there because it just gets that over and done with. You could save it to last if you liked, but I like to do the nasty bits first. Okay, so I'll slip stitch in, and I'll do my 3 chains, and I'm going to do a treble into that same place, and into the next 2 stitches I'm going to do 1 treble. So that's my next one there. So I'll do 1, 2. So now I'm going to do 2 trebles into the next one, and again into the next 2 I'm going to do 1 treble. So on the previous round I only did 1 treble in between the two. This time I'm doing 2 separate trebles in between the 2 into the same stitch, and what that does is it allows the circle to get bigger at a nice pace, and I shall come back when I've got to there. Right, so I'm just about to do my last 2 stitches, which will be 1 into each of the next, and I say 1, 2, I'm meaning the trebles. Each stitch is a treble, so you should, like I finished on 1 treble in the previous round, you should finish on 2. If you don't, it means that you've not spaced it out properly, so you might want to just go back and check your stitches, but just slip stitch into the top like so. Fasten that off, and I'm just going to do, let me see how's that comparing, so I just need to do 1 more round to make that the same size as the pretty side. So get my yarn, attach it to my hook like so, and then this time you may have maybe leaps and bounds ahead of me, which I'm sure you are, but this time I'm going to do 3 in between the 2 trebles into 1 stitch. So again, I'll start with 3 chains, and 1 treble into that same place, and then I'm going to do 1 treble into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and then this one will have 2 trebles, and again 1, 2, 3 will have 1 treble into the top. Okay, so one more time I'll just show you, 2 into the next stitch, and then 1 into the next 3. And my yarn's got caught up. There we go, come back, here we go. So I think you get the idea, and I'm now gonna keep going until I get to here. So just about to do my last 3 stitches, and as you can see I've got enough to do 1, 2, 3 stitches, which is what I was expecting, because on the previous round I had where is it? Anyway, there's the previous round. I was looking at this round. Hello. Alright, there's the last 2 stitches is 2, and the last one, that one is 1. So this round I want it to be 3, and I know I've done it right now because I've only got room to put 3 stitches in. And I'll just fasten that off by slip stitching into that one there and fastening off my yarn like that. And I'm very happy with that now, because that is now going to be the same size as my granny circle. So I'm ready now to sew in my ends, and I will come back and I'll show you how to join them up together. So as by magic I've managed to sew in all those ends, and wouldn't that be lovely if we could sew ends just like that, because that's the worst bit, isn't it? So you can see that those little gaps that we had on that, from that when we were joining the next colour, they've all gone now because I've sewn them all together. So what we need to do is we need to put these 2 bits together. So make sure you've got the 2 right sides facing out. So these are the 2 back sides, as it were, and you want to put the 2 back sides together so you've got the nice bits facing outwards. And then we're going to take our yarn that we're going to use to join it, and I'm again going to attach that to my hook like so. And then any of the, just start anywhere you like, and what you want to do is put the hook through that top of that treble and then through like that on the other side, and we're just going to do a slip stitch there And to get this started, I'm going to do 1 chain, and I think I'll do a double crochet into that same place, just so that it's got somewhere, we've got somewhere to slip stitch onto when we get all the way around. Now, the thing here is that you'll find that there won't be the same number of stitches. Did I miss a tail there? Oh no, that's that. There won't be the same number of stitches on each side, so some you may have to skip, some you may not have to. So what we're going to do is just do our best shot. So I think the back circle, this flat one, it has more stitches around the edge, so we're going to skip a couple of those, but you won't notice. So I've skipped probably 1 or 2 on the other, maybe 1 on the other side, and then we're going to try and work as many as I can together. So if I just put that hook through, you'll see I'm putting it through the top of the trebles from both sides and working that stitch. And it's up to you where you think that hook should go. It's your best call, and whatever looks neater. So if you think that it's not looking too neat, then you might need to just undo it a little bit and work it the best way you can. So we've got a couple of chain spaces there, so we'll probably skip working 2 into that chain, just do 1. And there isn't a rule to this, and there isn't a pattern to this, it's just wherever you can get that hook. If you were reading a written pattern, it would probably say something similar. It would probably just say join the 2 circles together with a double crochet. So honestly, it will be just your best judgment about whatever looks the neatest, because there wouldn't be a specific way of doing this. So try and do it the neatest you can. It's easy to undo if you think that you could have worked in another stitch somewhere else. It's just one of those things. Now the other point is, you don't want to put in too few stitches, because what will happen is it will start to curl up in the direction, and you'll know if you've done that because it won't lay flat. So I'm just going to work my way round, and I'll come back when I've got to the beginning, and I shall probably just speed this up so you can see what it is and how I do it, and how I probably end up undoing some of it. So I have made it all the way round. I'm just doing my last few stitches. I'm just going to slip stitch into that one there. I'm not going to fasten off the yarn because I'm going to go ahead and do a scalloped edge. So I'm pleased with that. That's, you know, that's not too bad, because that back bit was bigger than this bit. That's all right. That's fine. I'm happy with that. So we've got that really nice 2 layer there. It's really nice and thick, so you know, we're picking up something hot, then it definitely will, it's going to protect our hands. So I'm going to do a scalloped edge now, and the thing is, there isn't going to be a pattern to this. Like I showed you in the tea cozy pattern, doing the scalloped edge will be luck more than judgment, and that's how it always is, really, unless you are going to be counting out all of your stitches which, face it, I am not that sort of person to try and work it out, because it is just going to be a minefield to try and, you know, work that. If you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine, but I like the wing it approach, and it usually works out all right, and this one did, so I'm happy with that. So literally, to do the scalloped edge, starting off in your where you are, you're just going to do 5 trebles, and what you're going to do is you're either going to do them in 1 stitch away from where you are, or 2. Now I'm probably going to do this 1 stitch away, so I'm going to do 5 trebles, 2, 3, 4, 5, and because I skipped one stitch there, I'm going to skip one stitch there, and into that second one along I'm just going to do a slip stitch like that, and then I'm going to skip that one and do 5 trebles into that stitch there. And again I will just skip that stitch there and do 1 slip stitch there. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and I shall stop when I get to here and I'll show you how to do just that little loop bit. So that was my last scallop I've done there, and I've got a nice little gap here that I can't fit one more into, but what I can do is if I just slip stitch actually into that bit there like that, or not. So I just pull that through, slip stitch into that one there, and then what I can do here is chain a few, whatever, how many you want to do, however you want a bigger loop. I think I'll make that a little bit bigger, and then just slip stitch back into that same place there without ruining it like I've done there. Pulled that through, here we go. So just slip stitch back down into that bit there. Oh dear, all fingers and thumbs. It's because you're watching. And then I'll pull the hook through like that, and I'll fasten off my end. Just pull that tight like that, and there we go. There's my pot holder. I probably could have put a few more stitches in, I think, around that bottom bit, so it's curling up a little bit, but to me it looks like a little flower, and I've got a little loop there now that I can hang this up with, so it's ready for me to use whenever I need it. Obviously this is a bit small, this one, but as you can see there's only that much room to show you what to do. So yeah, I do hope you found this tutorial helpful. I'd love a thumbs up if you did, that would be great. Leave me a comment down below if you have any questions. I'm always happy to suggestions on videos. Like I say, I'm aiming to do 1 a week now. So if you have any requests, please drop me a line. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Drop me a line anywhere you like. Google Plus, still, I'm still trying to work that out. Does anyone know how to use Google Plus yet? I don't know. I certainly don't know how to use it anyway. So subscribe. I would love that if you want to see more videos coming. And until then, happy crocheting, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.